Giorgio Cafiero is a Middle East analyst and the CEO and founder of Gulf State Analytics and joins us from Washington. Giorgio, good to see you. The Syrian government forces are back in Soweto province, we believe. What chances their presence there can calm the situation after the atrocities of recent days?
Yeah, well, first of all, thanks for having me on your program. Always good to be with you. You know, it seems that the situation remains very tense. And unfortunately, I think, the fundamental drivers of the tension, the violence are very far from being resolved. What we've seen this past week and what we've also seen at other junctures in the post-Assad period have included very ugly sectarian killings. And it's very clear that many in Syria who belong to minority communities simply do not trust the Islamist-dominated government in Damascus. They think that the Syrian president's talk about an inclusive Syria, in a Syria where all the citizens, regardless of sect, are protected and respected, they don't take that talk very seriously. And I think, unfortunately, in southwestern Syria, this might just be the beginning of something that lasts for a very long time. Unfortunately, I think this sort of speaks to the fact that when Assad fell in December of last year, that did not really mark the end of the civil war. Rather, it just brought us to a new chapter in the civil war.
So, Giorgio, in that scenario, if the fighting then continues with that lack of trust in the background, do you see a scenario where Israel would not re-engage on the grounds of protecting the Druze if the fighting in Soweto continues?
Well, I think it's quite clear that Israel is committed to taking advantage of the sectarian and ethnic tensions in Syria. The Israeli goal is to definitely balkanize Syria and see to it that the country's fragmented. So I have no doubt that in this upcoming period, Tel Aviv is going to continue intervening or using the influence that it has to try to deepen the divisions between minority groups, including the Druze and al-Shara's government in Damascus.
So with all of that in mind, and I take your points, however, looking to a perfect world here where a ceasefire is achieved, how could a real functional ceasefire be brokered here? What would it look like with all of those parts coming together?
Are you talking about a ceasefire between different groups inside Syria or between Syria and Israel?
Ideally between all groups. If there was to be peace in Soweto, how would that come about? What's the most likely path to peace in that region?
Well, I think lasting peace and stability in this part of Syria is going to require the government taking steps to earn higher levels of trust on the part of the Druze and other communities in the country. If there is going to be more peace and stability, the government is going to have to make good on its rhetoric about governing an inclusive Syria. This requires accountability for government-linked fighters who have committed human rights violations against different minority groups. I think that could go a long way to help Shara's government earn some trust and to be seen as more of a legitimate leader. But this is a very difficult path, and it's not going to be easy for Shara's government to do so. We also have to keep in mind that Syria's central government is very weak. And of course, what Israel did in these past few days makes it all the more weak. I believe the central government has roughly 40,000 security forces. That's really not a lot for governing all of Syria. So the Damascus government does not really have great cards, really does not have great options. For this government to consolidate control over all of Syria, as any government of a sovereign nation would want to do, the road ahead will be very challenging. There's no doubt about that.
Giorgio, great to get your input. Middle East analyst Giorgio Cafiero, thanks as always.
Thank you.
Well, for more details, let's bring in the journalist Berivan Resol, who is based in the Syrian city of Qamishli. Berivan, what are you hearing about the ceasefire there in Soweto province? Are all sides observing it?
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. So far, the ceasefire appears fragile. While major confrontation have decreased, there are still reports of gunfire and tension in several neighborhoods. Some local Druze groups are observing it, but others remain armed and skeptical. The ceasefire lacks a clear mechanism for enforcement or monitoring, which makes its sustainability uncertain.
Now, the interim president, al-Sharaa, is again deploying troops to enforce this ceasefire. A few days ago, that wasn't too successful. Could this inflame or calm the situation?
You can say that it's a double-edged sword. For some, the renewed deployment might signal a commitment to restoring order, but for many, Sweden, especially after years of mistrust, the presence of government troops is seen as provocative. Unless these forces come with the guarantees for restraint and dialogue, the risk re-originating tensions instead of calming them.
Now, al-Sharaa said that the Syrian state will protect all minorities in the country, but especially considering what happened in recent days, how can he rebuild trust with the Druze community?
Actually, trust will not be rebuilt through statements alone. The Druze community has long felt marginalized and abandoned, especially during moments of crisis. Rebuilding the trust will require actions, accountability for violence, genuine inclusion in political decision-making, and recognition of local autonomy and community leadership. Anything less will be seen as more rhetoric.
Now, what effect have these recent days then had on the new regime there?
Actually, these events have been a critical early test. They have exposed deep fractures in the country and the limited reach of the central government. Al-Sharaa's leadership is being judged not by promises, but by his ability to navigate a multi-layered crisis. Also, the regime is under pressure to show it can unify a fractured society. But these recent days have shown just how steep that challenge will be.
The journalist Berivan Resol there reporting from Syria. Thank you very much, Berivan.
Thank you.